Welcome to the Inner Self Confidence Podcast. I'm your host, Katie Delamont. Real talk for women who are done overthinking, freezing, or abandoning themselves. If you are ready to feel calm in your body, trust yourself, and speak up without forcing it, you're in the right place. Because confidence isn't something you perform, it's something you build from the inside out. Let's go. Welcome to episode 52 of the Inner Self Confidence Podcast. You survived, but have you healed? Getting through versus regulating through your nervous system. Have you ever noticed how people say, I got through it? Or, they say it very proudly, like, I got through the divorce. I got through cancer. I got through losing my job. I got through my childhood. And that's absolutely something to celebrate. But getting through isn't the same as regulating through. And there is a big difference. This distinction has literally changed my life. When I look back at my life, I've gotten through a lot. I was born with the umbilical cord wrapped around my neck. I was a child born of infidelity. I've had a lot of childhood trauma, lots of secrets in my family. I lost both my biological parents by the age of 25 and 26. I was sexually abused when I was little. I was raped in my 20s. I was robbed on a beach. I had serious burnout when I lived in New York. And from the outside, though, I got through it all. I was so strong, but my body didn't. My body was screaming. I looked functional on the outside. I kept a job. I paid my bills, but I wasn't regulated. And there is a massive difference between getting through and regulating through. And let me show you what that looks like, okay? Getting through looks like, say you had a traumatic birth, but you're still alive. However, your body tenses up when you think about it. Maybe you've had a huge financial loss. Your bank account recovered, but you still panic whenever money gets tight. Maybe you had a marital rupture. You've stayed together, but you never actually repaired the trust. Maybe you had a messy divorce. You've moved on, but you still carry resentment, bitterness, and fear. You may have had a cancer diagnosis and your treatment is finished, but your body still doesn't feel safe. You keep going. You go back to work, you tick the boxes, you smile, you tell everyone, I'm okay, but your body tells a different story. You can't sleep, you're exhausted, you're anxious, you gain weight, you lose weight, your immune system crashes, you get sick all the time, you isolate, you become reactive. You see, your nervous system never got the message that we are okay and everything is safe now. What does regulating through look like? Regulating through is different. I personally noticed when my husband had a stroke back in 2018, I was regulating through that experience instead of getting through. And I'll kind of talk about my story later. I also regulated through when I found out that the man who raised me isn't my biological father. I have regulated through some of the most intense, stressful times and things in my life since learning about the nervous system and how to build capacity and to regulate through instead of just getting through. Regulating through is about allowing your body to catch up with what just happened. It's being so present that, again, you're not trying to avoid or dismiss anything that's going on. You're meeting it moment to moment. You're resting without guilt. You're asking for help. You're putting boundaries in place. You're crying. You feel anger. You allow yourself to grieve. You breathe before reacting. It's choosing support instead of pretending you're fine. Healing isn't pretending it doesn't hurt. It's teaching your nervous system that the danger has passed and that you can handle this. Going back to my story, I really noticed in 2018 that I was regulating through my stressful experience when my husband had a stroke instead of getting through it. So I remember the day he had a stroke, instead of me sitting there calling his parents right away when he was out cold for like 2 hours and the doctors literally said to me, we don't know if he's going to be able to walk, talk, or anything when he wakes up. We'll know more when he wakes up. So you just have to sit here and wait. Those few hours were very long, but instead of calling a ton of people, freaking out, thinking the worst, what did I do? I sat there and I allowed myself to feel what I was feeling. I started sending love and kindness to people who were also in very stressful, painful situations in the emergency room. I wasn't the only person going through a horrible time in the emergency room, okay? So I used that experience to zoom out of my ego and just stop thinking only about myself and to connect to myself, to the people and the world around me. And the reality is anything I did right now was not going to make a difference on what's going to happen. So I can sit there and freak out even more and then call a bunch of people and feel more stressed. Or I can sit there, I can pray, I can visualize him waking up with strength. I could do so many more things with my time that were useful than freaking out, right? This is what getting through versus regulating through is, and you do have all that power. And this is not about toxic positivity. You know, that's not what I preach. This is about being present, being real, and regulating. I remember also we were living on the Gold Coast and he was in the Brisbane hospital. He was there for a week getting all this tests and stuff. And I remember it was probably day 4 or 5. And then I woke up and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to rush to the hospital today because what is the difference between me getting there at 9 o'clock when, visiting hours start or 10 o'clock? And I know his parents are going to be there because they were staying at a hotel across the street. And I said, you know what? What's going to make me feel a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more calm? I don't feel like making myself breakfast. I know that it's probably not a good thing to skip breakfast because I'm not going to eat the hospital food and there's nothing good to eat around the hospital. So what can I do right now that is going to help me regulate through? And I went to a cafe. I treated myself to a beautiful, delicious, and healthy breakfast. And then I drove to the hospital. And there were times where I felt guilty because I actually landed at the hospital parking lot and his parents had called me. So I knew something had gone down because they don't really call me. But, anyways, I get to the hospital in his room and he thought he had had another stroke. He had a little PTSD moment and they had run a bunch of other tests and they were kind of freaking out. But long story short is I could tell that he was upset with me. He was like, why did it take you so long to get here? And instead of feeling guilty for taking that time, I said, no, 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 Katie, we're not getting through this. We're regulating through. I'm not going to feel guilty. And I'm also not going to be upset that he's upset. Okay. Like he has gone through something quite traumatic and probably multiple traumatic things since he's been here. This is, whatever he's dealing with is his, and I have to take care of myself. And me getting here an hour later when his parents were already here, again, wasn't going to make a difference on whether he lives or doesn't. Again, we have to really meet the moment where it's at. There were other things that happened with that whole stroke experience where I really noticed that I wasn't getting through things anymore. I was regulating through. I stopped abandoning myself just to make other people happy. I really stay grounded. And that doesn't mean I wasn't caring. That doesn't mean I wasn't helpful. That doesn't mean I wasn't compassionate and kind. But I was regulating my nervous system first before regulating others. That's the biggest key is women especially want to regulate everybody else and then put themselves last. They think if they regulate first, oh my God, no, that's way too selfish, especially when somebody else is in the hospital. I have to put them first. Putting yourself first doesn't mean you don't take care and help someone. It just means you help yourself first. You don't pretend that you're okay when you're not. And this happened again when I was 38 and I found out the man who raised me is not my biological father. I regulated through that experience like a motherfucker. I was so switched on to my nervous system that I was like, whoa, okay, yep, all right. Well, I can see my body going into shutdown. When I was angry, I fucking let myself be angry. When I was overwhelmed, I admitted when I was overwhelmed. I gave myself breaks. I gave myself time off if I needed it. I rested when I needed it. If I wanted to take a nap at 2 o'clock in the day, I do this still. It doesn't matter if something stressful has happened or not. If my body is saying, hey, we need to lay down right now and take a little nap, I fucking do it. I don't care. Like, this is my life, my body, my energy. And the biggest thing was when I flew to America, so many people were like, "Oh yeah, you're just gonna fly in and out." Like, no, I don't just fly in and out of anywhere. If I'm going out traveling, I am regulating my nervous system to the best of my fucking ability. If I would have flew directly from Brisbane to West Virginia, which is a crazy travel time and horrible with jet lag if you do it in one go. If I were to do that, I would have been horribly jet lagged. I would have been sick. I would have been eating shitty food. I would have had IBS. I would have been constipated for a week. I probably wouldn't be able to express myself as beautifully as I did. I probably wouldn't have been able to have the conversation that I ended up having with my dad. So what did I do when I flew to America to ask my dad a question? Did you know? I didn't rush in and out. That trip cost me over $5,000. It could have cost me less. But I made a point that said, no, 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 no. First of all, I'm worthy of spending money on myself. Two, I don't need to rush for anybody or anything. And honestly, is the difference of spending $2,000 and $5,000 going to make a huge difference in a few years when it comes to my health and safety? No. So I built regulation on that trip. I spent a night or two in Vancouver on the way over and on the way back so I could break up the trip. So I could walk, I could drink water, I can eat healthy food, I can be in nature, I can meditate, I could be by myself, I can go into a nice hotel. Like I could go into a sauna, I could get a massage if I want. Like I did that on purpose. That wasn't by accident. That is by complete design. I also made a point to not only visit my sisters, who I hadn't seen in forever, but to visit one of my best friends, who I also hadn't seen in years. But anyways, surrounding yourself with people who make you feel connected and safe is one of the biggest regulators you can. And of course, I could have had that with my dad when I flown there, but I added on more. And if I wouldn't have done that, my body would have paid the price. But instead, I came home feeling connected, present, proud. My circumstances weren't any easier. It's just that my nervous system was different. And that's the difference between getting through versus regulating through. Getting through is I survived. Regulating through is I fucking thrived. Like, this is no joke. Like, regulating through is I'm going to move through this experience without abandoning myself. I'm going to be completely honest and alive in every moment that I find. Confidence doesn't come from getting through hard things. So many people survive difficult things. This is not to dumb down your experience, but anybody in the world can get through a traumatic birth. Anybody in the world can get through a horrendous divorce. Anybody can get through a cancer diagnosis. Anybody can get through losing a shit ton of money. But confidence comes from regulating through them, from teaching your nervous system that it's okay to rest, to speak up for yourself, to trust yourself, to stop abandoning yourself. Your needs matter. Your agency matters. Your voice matters. Your boundaries matter. You matter more than anything that's going on. You are greater than any problem. This reminds me of my tattoo that me and my husband got last year after Burning Man. If you're on video, you can see this. It's you is greater than P. That means you are greater than any problem, than anything in this world. Now, if you've spent your whole life proudly saying, I got through it, I want you to leave with one question. Did your mind get through it, or did your body? Because maybe, just maybe, you don't need to keep surviving. Maybe it's time to start thriving. If this episode have resonated with you, this is exactly why the first 4 weeks of my 90 Days to Inner Self-Confidence is dedicated to building your nervous system capacity. I don't want to help you simply get through life. I want to help you regulate through life. So by Christmas, I'm calling it my Confident by Christmas challenge. You're not just surviving, you are fucking thriving. Till next time, if you want to read my book, Trust the Flames, or if you want to jump on a discovery call and see how we can work together, everything's on my website, www.katiedelamon.com, or you can follow me on social media, Katie Delamon. Bye.